Hello, jewelry friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Jewelry Resellers Podcast. My name is Desiree, and you already know I'm your jewelry reselling bestie. Today's episode is going to be a look back on some of the lessons and the hard truths I've learned about jewelry reselling in 2024. Now, this is the last episode of 2024, and so I wanted to do a reflection, look back, recap, and even maybe an evaluation of some of the things that I learned, things that worked, things that didn't work, things that maybe even I've changed my opinion on since we have moved through through the year, and I have done all kinds of things as it relates to jewelry reselling, and I've shared a lot of that knowledge and information with you. But as things change, as time moves on, and as we learn, sometimes what works even a few months or even a year ago may not necessarily be relevant or useful or even productive today. So, I want to share with you some of these insights that I have gained, like I said, just from my own experience, as well as connecting with and talking with other jewelry resellers, and also just from paying attention to what's going on in the jewelry industry just in general. All of those things can affect our business. All of those things can help us make decisions about what we are currently doing and then what we plan to do moving forward. All right. Because I know at the end of the day, it's all about making money, but it's also about doing this in a way that makes sense for you. All right. And because we're all different, we're all at different places and different stages in our journeys, it none of us really get it right, and I feel like I'm still figuring things out, even though I've been doing this a while. I'm not the authority on jewelry reselling. Although I do, like I said, I like to do what I can to help you make your jewelry reselling business exactly what it is that you want to do. All right. So before we get into that, I do want to say hello and welcome again. If you don't know me, I'm Desiree, and I have been a jewelry reseller since roughly about 2019. And this has been a passion of mine for many years, even before I started reselling. And so, because this is the last episode of the year, in case you are new, I just wanted to give a brief introduction, to me and to this podcast. That way, you can get an idea of kind of what I'm doing and then where we're going as it relates to the podcast, because I'm very excited for the new year and I can't wait to get into some of the things that I have planned for you. All right. So if you want to learn more about the podcast, all you got to do is head on over to jewelryresellerspodcast.com. And over there, you can sign up for our newsletter. I've talked about that many times on the podcast. And when you sign up for the newsletter, I will send you a list of the 20 best-selling vintage jewelry brands that I think all resellers should know. That list is pretty timeless, and it doesn't matter where you are, on your journey as it relates to vintage jewelry or reselling jewelry. These brands are tried and true, and they are still making a lot of money for resellers today. All right. The other thing I want to share with you is that we have created a jewelry resellers podcast community. And so the link to join that community, it's on Facebook. I will put that in the description as well as the show notes. And that way, if you'd like to connect with me or other jewelry resellers, you'll have that opportunity available in the Facebook group. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the hard truths or the lessons that I have learned about jewelry reselling in 2024. All right, and these are things coming from my perspective, but remember, I'm also someone who is out there just like you, trying to get this done, trying to make this work, as well as really trying to mold my business into what I want it to be. Now, I don't know if you know, but jewelry reselling is not the only thing I do, but it is a big part of my income and it is a big part of my life, jewelry reselling and all the things that go along with it, this podcast included. All right, so let's get into some of the business lessons that I have learned this year. Number one, adaptability really is key. As we all know, there have been a lot of changes this year as it relates to jewelry, as it relates to our economy. A lot of people, I've heard jewelry resellers say that people just aren't buying, or everybody wants all of my stuff for cheap. And while that may be true, what I have learned, like I said, is that you really have to adapt. If what you're doing is attracting people who want jewelry for cheap, then maybe you need to pivot as it relates to how you're marketing or how you're showing up or where you are sharing or presenting your jewelry. All right, because I can tell you, not everybody wants anything or everything for cheap, although there's plenty of people out there that do. If you target the right market or the right buyer, I'm telling you, you can still sell your jewelry for very, profitable amounts. You don't have to settle or compromise on price just because that's what everybody is asking. All right. So you really have to learn to adapt. You're going to have to learn to pivot and you're going to have to learn to shift. And sometimes that will take you stepping out of your comfort zone or doing something entirely different. All right. That is what I have learned big time this past year. All right. The other thing I've learned as it relates to jewelry reselling is there's actually power in not niching down. All right. Now, I've talked about that on the podcast a lot too. As a matter of fact, I probably have said many times that if you can find a niche within the jewelry category as a reseller, that can help you, or that can, maybe make things easier for you in some way. But what I've also noticed and what I've also learned is that there's still a lot of jewelry resellers out there who do not niche down. They just sell jewelry. And it doesn't matter what kind of jewelry. It's whatever they can find, whatever they can source, or whatever looks good to them or pleases them in the moment. And they have very healthy, profitable businesses. So this has been something that I've had to re-examine for myself, because I used to focus only on vintage jewelry, but now I'm seeing that there's a lot of opportunity in other types of jewelry as well. Handmade jewelry, sustainable jewelry, upcycled jewelry, whatever. People just like jewelry. All right. Now, this is not to ignore that there's going to be some other tweaks you're going to have to make in your business as it relates to your marketing, as it relates to your keywords and descriptions. But remember, you really can create this business however you want, and you don't have to be locked in or limited to any rules. That brings me to my third hard truth that I've learned, and that is that presentation really does matter. People really do appreciate when you take the time to present your jewelry in a way that not only resonates, but really showcases the piece and showcases you as a seller as well. I've had people tell me that they have shopped with me just because they like the way I talk about jewelry or they like the way I share information, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. Now, that's not to say that's the only way to sell jewelry and make money doing this, but it does matter and people do notice. All right. I have actually been turned off um, with a couple of buyers just because their presentation. Now, maybe that's just me, but I've seen people be very sloppy with their photos. I've seen people be very sloppy with their descriptions, even in live shows where people, they just throw something in front of the camera and expect people to just kind of know what it is. And, I'm pretty sure a lot of us are not like that, but if you can up level your presentation game in some way, it's only going to help. And like I said, people really do notice. And I have had people say that they shop with me specifically for that reason. All right. Business lesson that I have learned this year, number 4, is how to source strategically. All right. This is always the huge kind of elephant in the room where people really get stuck on the sourcing part. Now, I admit it has gotten more difficult and more challenging this year because there's a whole lot more people moving into the jewelry reselling space. But that just means you have to get more creative and more strategic, like I said, as it relates to your sourcing. All right, now, we have talked about that when it comes to sourcing, we pretty much already know where to go, how to do it, at least on an elementary level. But what's going to kind of give you an edge or give you a little bit more opportunity is to focus on building relationships and letting people know exactly what it is that you do, what you're looking for, and so forth. All right. Now, a lot of us, I've noticed that a lot of resellers don't like to communicate or share that they are resellers and that's what they do. But I think if you can move past that, people will be willing to work with you, share information with you, or even refer you to people that you can connect with to source jewelry. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people have also said that they think that there's a shortage of jewelry, and I'm going to tell you that that's not true. All right, there is millions of jewelry pieces out there that we can buy at a reasonable cost for us to flip for profit, in our business. It's just a matter of figuring out what your strategy is, what you can do, and how you are going to set yourself apart or even set yourself ahead of other people who are trying to do this. All right. So I'm going to do a beginner series next month talking about this because I think we have to kind of implement some new ideas as it relates to sourcing jewelry because I'm telling you it's out there, but we're going to have to really stretch ourselves. I guess that's probably the best way to say it. And you have to be willing to do that. Okay. And the other thing I've noticed too is like a lot of us get attached to our inventory. And so we either fall in love with it because we want to keep it, because we want to wear it, or it's just so pretty, or um, we don't want to sell it because we put a price on it that may or may not be realistic as it relates to the market and the demand. All right. So, all those things I'm going to do a deep dive on when I do the beginner series, how to get started in jewelry reselling. We'll talk about that in that series. All right. But I just wanted to throw this out there because I want you to start thinking about how can you source more strategically and how can you give yourself an edge. All right. How can you put yourself ahead of the pack? All right, business lesson number 5 that I've learned this year is that tracking trends is crucial. This is good not only for SEO, search engine optimization, when you're doing your listings, but it's also good for marketing and also if you use social media to promote your business, which I don't see why you wouldn't. If you can follow the trends or at least be aware of what's popular and what's in demand now, it's only going to help you. All right. Okay. Now, here's some other things that I've learned this year that I think are very key and will definitely help you in your jewelry reselling business. And that's education. All right. Nothing replaces education as it relates to reselling, whether you're selling jewelry, clothing, shoes, um, collectible items. Your knowledge really is going to be the thing that allows you to find the pieces that people want and also to be able to price these items at what you know they are worth. All right. So when I talk about education, when it comes to jewelry reselling, Of course, there's that surface stuff of, oh, this is gold, this is silver, this is, rhinestones. Yes, all of that. But I'm talking about going deeper, like knowing the jewelry eras, knowing the styles and the designers. All right. That is very important. And that is what is going to help you when we talk about strategic sourcing. All right. So a lot of times, customers or buyers will also appreciate that. And they really appreciate the knowledge, yes, but the fact that you're willing to share that knowledge with them, all right? Because sometimes buyers, they know what they want, but they don't know how to describe it, or they know kind of a look they want, but they don't know like if it's a particular jewelry era or a particular designer. Now, I'm not saying you have to be the end all be all jewelry encyclopedia, but having more than a basic knowledge of jewelry really is going to help you, and it's going to help you stand out. All right. So that also creates customer loyalty as well, because when people know that you know your stuff, they trust you, and they always go to you first when they're looking for something specific. All right. So education is key. Knowledge is key. You can never know too much when it comes to jewelry as a reseller. All right, so those are the business truths or lessons that I've learned in 2024. Now I want to move to a more personal tone as it relates to the things I've learned this year. Just me, Desiree, a jewelry reseller, things that I have learned that have really kind of helped me to become a better jewelry reseller, things that I think have improved my outlook and my motivation behind being a jewelry reseller. All right. So, personal growth, number one, I guess, is I have learned that consistency and discipline really will put you so far ahead in this jewelry reselling game. Now, I say that because I know a lot of jewelry resellers, and a lot of people, they don't struggle with sourcing. They don't struggle with, finding the pieces. But what they struggle with is the consistency and the discipline to do what needs to be done in order to make this business work, which means you have to show up every day. Now, that doesn't mean you physically need to show up every day, but you need to be putting listings up every day. You need to be posting on social media every day, or at least scheduling your posts every day, right? Showing up every day, letting people know what you do and what you have really is the key to winning this game. All right. And this isn't something that you have to physically do. The nice thing is that we have tools now, digital tools, scheduling tools, AI tools to help make this so much easier. All right. You can create content and you can repurpose that content in multiple ways. You can post on social media and you can schedule those posts. You can schedule listings, or you can draft your listings and then publish them every day, like whatever it is. All right. It's the consistency to show up every single day and not waver from that, and not fall off track, and then not be committed enough to get back on track. All right. So I know a jewelry reseller. She complains that she's not making any sales, but she only lists one or two items a week. All right. That's just not going to cut it. That's not going to fly. That's not going to work. I'm going to be honest with you that if you want this to work, you have to work it. Okay. There's no shortcut. There's no easy mode. There's no secret as it relates to doing this. That is what the secret is consistency and discipline, and keeping that. All right, like I said, not wavering and not making excuses. All right, so and I'm talking to myself here too, because I'm telling you, I don't always get this perfect. I don't always, do all the right things all the time, but I have gotten better as I have learned, and I have seen results when I am consistent, when I am do the things that I know I need to do, when I am doing the things that I know I need to do. All right. So Personal growth truth, hard truth, number two, is investing in yourself will always pay off. Now, of course, we're talking about jewelry here, but what other ways are you investing in yourself? Here is what has been a big revelation for me. Investing in myself means planning ahead. Investing in myself means learning and putting myself out there and stepping out of my comfort zone. Okay, so when I say planning ahead, when I am doing a live show, I don't just wing it. I don't just decide, oh, I'm going to do a live show now and then scramble to do one. I always know I'm going live Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and I have my whatever I need to do, my pre show stuff, I have that ready. So when Wednesday at 5 o'clock comes, all I do is hit start show or go live or whatever. All right. So that is how I invest in myself is I prepare and I plan ahead because I'm the kind of person I don't like scrambling around. I don't like flying by the seat of my pants and I don't like not having an idea of what I'm supposed to do or what my day is going to look like. Okay? Now, the other thing as it relates to investing in yourself, and this is totally not jewelry related, but are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting exercise? Because I'm telling you, a jewelry, or I should say, the job of being a reseller is demanding. It's demanding physically, it's demanding mentally, and in some cases, it could be very demanding emotionally. All right, because it's physically demanding to go out and source jewelry, especially if you're going to multiple places, garage sales, thrift stores, wherever. It's physically demanding to go and look, go and look, go and look. All right. And then that's also mentally strenuous because you're constantly looking for stuff. You're looking things up on your phone. You're thinking about what you want. You're thinking about what you need. All right. You're searching. All of that takes energy. And we need to take care of ourselves so our energy matches exactly the output that we want. I can't tell you how many resellers have told me that, oh, they're tired or whatever. And so we have to understand that in order to do this at our maximum capacity or at the best to our ability, we have to take care of ourselves in other ways. Like I said, getting enough sleep, exercise, eating right, maintaining healthy friendships so we can, talk about things that could be bothering us or maybe struggles or challenges that we're having. Maintaining healthy relationships will help you be a better reseller. All right, so don't neglect that. All right, really make the decision in this new year to invest in yourself in whatever way will help you be a better reseller. All right. And that could even be something like working on your confidence, right? I can't tell you how many resellers have told me they're too scared to go live or they're afraid to put themselves out there or they get stuck in a rut or a routine where they just keep doing the same thing every day, but they don't want to change, right? And they kind of sabotage themselves by not being flexible or not being willing to do something different. So, again, however you can invest in yourself is going to pay off. And that is something I have learned and I have experienced in this year. All right. Now, the other thing that I've learned personally and what has helped me be a better jewelry reseller is to be very selective with my time. I've shared this before that I can be all over the place and I can be very, very scattered and I can be doing 18 things when I need to only be doing one. All right. I've already kind of made some changes as it relates to this. I've eliminated some things that were eating up some time that were not necessarily helpful or productive or taking me in the direction that I want to go. And so I've had to put some boundaries on my time. I've had to say no to some things because I know what's important to me. I want to be a profitable jewelry reseller and I want to make the money I want to make. I want to have the life I want to have. And if I am going to say yes to that, I have to say no to some other things. Now, maybe it's just a temporary no. Maybe it's just no for right now, or maybe it's a permanent no. But I know that if I'm setting this goal to be a profitable jewelry reseller, I have to say no and be very selective with things that don't align with that. And I have to be willing to focus on that and eliminate things that take me away from that. And sometimes that's not easy to do. And sometimes it's more of a comfort thing, like we've talked about. All right. But being very, very selective with my time and being very, very clear about what I what I want as a jewelry reseller and what I want in my jewelry reselling business. It's been amazing, but it hasn't been easy. All right. But I'm telling you, a weight has been lifted because now I know that my time and energy is going to where I want it to go. And that's really what matters. I'm not wasting time. I'm not wasting energy. I'm not wasting effort. Okay. So I share all of that because I know I'm not the only one in this camp. And so it's something to think about as we move into the new year. And finally, my last personal truth that I have learned as a jewelry reseller this year is you really need to celebrate the small wins. Now, I recently sold something that I had listed for 2 years. And it sold for a nice profit. I'm not going to complain about that. But I actually forgot about it until it sold. And the thing is it's still a win because it sold, but it also made me realize, when I listed that, I didn't know everything like I know today. And so it's a win that it sold, even though maybe the listing wasn't great. Maybe my photos weren't perfect. Maybe I didn't describe it as accurately as I could have, but it still sold. It took 2 years, but it sold. All right. So I think a lot of us tend to beat ourselves up and we tend to think, "Oh, I'm not doing this right," or "I can't figure this out," or "I'm so frustrated because things are not moving, I'm not making sales," whatever the case may be. But I'm here to tell you, celebrate those wins, no matter how small they are, because they're all meaningful and they all it's like they give you validation that you're on the right track. Now, sometimes things need to be tweaked. I'm not going to say they don't, but you need to give yourself credit where credit is due. All right. And I know that's hard for a lot of us because, like I said, we tend to beat ourselves up or we tend to dwell on the things that didn't work. But I'm here to tell you, you're doing a lot of things right. And so I want you to recognize that too. All right. So these are the things that I have learned this year. And 2024 has been it's been a crazy year, but it's also been a very revealing year because there was a time where I actually thought about maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe this isn't where I should be. Maybe I should try something else. But there was still always a passion and a love and a hunger for doing this. And I think things are going to change how I do jewelry reselling in 2025. Actually, I don't think I know. And it may not make sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. And I don't want to say waste time, but I don't want to squander time doing things that I think I'm supposed to do as opposed to doing the things that I truly want to do in the way that I want to do them. Now, that being said, um, I still have to kind of follow. Um, I still have to kind of follow the plan or follow the methods, I guess, as it relates to jewelry reselling. But I can do this in a way that makes sense for me, in a way that I do find enjoyable. This podcast truly is is a love for me. I love sharing information. I love researching. For those of you that don't know, my background is a journalist. I was a traffic and news reporter. And one of the things that I love doing is sharing information. I've always been that way. I like to research, I like to learn things. And so this podcast gives me an outlet to do that. And I will do it for as long as I feel called to do it. And I want to help you uh, do the things that you want to do as it relates to jewelry reselling, because I know for a lot of us, reselling is just a vehicle to get us to the things that we want, right? Maybe it's to get out of debt. Maybe it's to take a vacation. Maybe it's to, retire with some extra money so we can live comfortably. Whatever the case may be, reselling usually is a vehicle to help us do that. But in a lot of our cases, we love jewelry. I know I do. And so it's kind of like this gives me an outlet to be around beautiful things that I love, but it also allows me to do things that I feel is my purpose, which, like I said, is to share information and to help others who want the information, who need the information. All right. So that is my plan going forward in the new year, 2025. I mean, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. And like I said, coming up next in the next three podcast episodes, we're going to talk about how to get started doing this whole jewelry reselling thing. I want to create a beginner series that is current and updated. So that way, if this is something you're thinking about in the new year, it could totally work. And we're going to talk about how to create a plan for you, how to find, the jewelry pieces that you may want to sell. We're also going to talk about how to sell jewelry, because there's so many options nowadays, like I have talked about here on the podcast, but we're going to do a deep dive into that. And then we're also going to talk about the business aspect and some of the things we need in order to keep things running smoothly. All right. Things that we need to have in place, or things that we need to think about and consider as it relates to making this a business that works. Okay. So that's coming up in the next three episodes. It's going to be a 3-part series. And I can't wait to dive in, because this is also going to help me reevaluate my own business and do some things differently. Because, like I said, I don't have all of the answers for everyone, but I do know that there's always room for improvement, and there is always an opportunity to do things better. And there's an opportunity there, depending on how we structure this. All right. So that's what's coming up next. All right, jewelry friends. Well, that is all I have for you today. And if you have any questions about this, or if you'd like to share with me, what were your big revelations or lessons or truths that you learned about jewelry reselling or your jewelry reselling business this year? Because I think those insights could be very helpful to other people who are doing this, and those of us who are trying to make this work. Because it's a simple concept, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. All right. So I want to do whatever I can to help and support you. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can leave a comment on this podcast, or you can head on over to the website, jewelryresellerspodcast.com. And I do have a contact form there. Yeah, and I will just continue to bring you the best that I can as it relates to jewelry reselling, and anything else, anything else that can help us make the money we want to make. All right, friends. So thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I'll check in with you again really soon.